Welcome to Done with Debauchery, a podcast hosted by Dennise and Keisha, two friends who share intimate conversations about alcohol and drug use, struggling with sobriety, and our personal paths to wellness.
Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Done with Debauchery. I'm Keisha, and this is my co-host, Dennise.
Hi, everyone.
So, how are you doing today? How are you feeling?
I'm good. I've decided to be recording this standing up, so get ready for a lot more energy.
We are diverse.
I think we've decided to take a turn this week. We're going to be doing a bit more of a personal episode. We have lots of things we want to share with you guys.
Yeah, I think our last couple episodes were kind of like research heavy. It was a lot of heavy information that I do think was important for us to share. But we wanted to kind of circle back to what our first few episodes were like, just kind of giving everyone some information about us, what we're up to, where we're at in our sobriety and relationship with alcohol, and just like what's happening.
Yeah, let everyone get to know us a little bit better.
Do you want to start or should I start?
I'm going to start with you. So you just got back from a weekend girls' cottage trip, and you didn't have any drinks.
Yes, so I did just go away with a group of girlfriends. I did not have any drinks, which I feel very proud of.
You should.
Thank you. It was a trip that was kind of in the books for quite a few weeks. I did feel good going into it and confident that I wasn't going to drink at all. I recently just hit my 100-day sobriety milestone. I'm almost at 4 months at the time of recording this. And I think it's really interesting sort of just how my perspective of going into the cottage weekend shifted from last year to this past weekend.
Let's give a little bit of a background of what happened last year at the cottage so that people can understand and compare.
Yeah, last year, Dennise and I had a cottage weekend booked, and we were both attempting sobriety at the time leading up to it. I was at my 99-day milestone when we drove up to the cottage, and we both kind of decided impulsively, tying into our last episode, I guess, on talking about impulsivity, we decided impulsively that we were going to stop and pick up some wine, and things just things spiraled from there, and it just turned into like regular drinking once again. Moderation was just proving that it was not a realistic option, I think, for either of us at the time. So, and I was really ashamed and really hard on myself internally that I didn't make it to that 100-day milestone, because it was something that I was really looking forward to, and it had just been like a goal. Like, it would have been the longest time that I had been sober for, and it just felt like such a landmark.
Interesting. So what do you feel like? Do you think it's because we were both like trying to not drink that put us in a more vulnerable space that time versus you being on your own and in your own energy? So it's like you're only contending with you, but when there's two people trying to stay sober, it's like when both people start to waver, then there's like it's almost like there's confirmation of, yeah, we should just do it. Let's just have one. It's like, instead of just contending with your own, you can moderate voice, now there's another person's you can moderate voice as well. There's two instead of one.
Yeah, I think that could definitely be like a factor in it. And I think that going into this past weekend, it wasn't even on my radar that maybe I would have like one glass of wine, maybe I would try it. It was just like, it was a no. I went prepared. I brought so many different types of non-alcoholic drinks, from different kinds of sparkling waters. I had non-alcoholic wines, like a non-alcoholic Moscow Mule, gin and tonic, just anything that I could possibly want to reach for. I just made sure that I had available with me. Also, I think it was really important that the group of girls that I went with, as much as they do drink and they like to have fun, they're like, nobody's getting shit-faced. So nobody, like, they are like drinking throughout the day and in the evening by the campfire, but I don't know, it's not like shots on shots. It's never like, it doesn't feel like a chaotic drinking environment.
We weren't really drinking like that either, though.
No, we definitely weren't, but I'm just saying, like, this group, I think it might have been harder for me if that was the environment, if it was a big party, like if there was drugs and things like that, but that's just not what it's like.
Yeah.
I think you and I also have a little bit of a dynamic that we can kind of
I think we get too hyped.
We get too hyped and we just like,
and no one's
we
us
feed
down.
off of each other like in those moments.
Yeah.
So if one of us says fuck it, it's a little bit easier for the other one to say fuck it as well.
It's that impulsivity. It's like quadruple the impulsivity when there's two people that are like pumping it up. Like just add some pump it up kind of fucking music in there and we could be like swinging from a rope from the ceiling in 30 seconds.
Yeah. And I did actually go to another cottage with the same group of girls last year. I'm trying to think if it was before or after.
I think it was before, actually.
And I didn't drink again.
Yeah.
But I remember it being a lot harder for me that time. And I was like, not like having sips of drinks to like get drunk, but I was like trying different people's drinks with like different cans and stuff. And I feel like I didn't have that same inclination to do that this past weekend.
It's almost like you set a very clear intention this time, and it sounds like there was a lot less negotiation.
Yeah, a lot less internal negotiation. And I think that maybe if I didn't have those previous experience last year of trying and not succeeding, it would have been a different outcome. But I think that I've tried and failed, tried and had not like the outcome that I wanted. So now I am feeling a lot more solidified in my choice. Is it an
acceptance piece or?
I'm trying to make it that.
Okay.
I was
like, wow. People try their whole lives to accept things.
Yeah.
Keisha got it down in 100 days, guys.
I'm really trying to look at it.
Over here.
I'm really trying to look at it in like the mind frame of like, not that I can't drink, but that I don't need to, which is like, I feel like,
because then you don't feel like you're missing out. There's no FOMO.
Yeah, exactly. And there were some times like when we had like dinner one night, like the girls brought like a beautiful bottle of red wine, which like I would have loved to try it, and I brought my like a non-alcoholic can of like the groovy like red wine, just so I had something that I felt like I was participating. When we cheers, my drink looked the same. But there were moments where I was like, shit, like I would really like to like have a drink, but then I tried to like just sit with myself and be like, why? Like, do I want to be a part of the party? Or like, what is the reasoning? Do I feel like I need to get drunk to have fun? And I feel like I was probably like a little bit more like low energy this weekend than like the normal like drinking like party fun cottage weekend Keisha.
Yeah.
But it just felt like right. And like I had good sleeps when I was there. I didn't wake up with anxiety. The first night we got there, I had probably the best sleep that I've had in like 6 months.
Getting out of the city makes such a difference.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that there was like a couple things that really led to the success of the weekend, and I think it was being prepared with a ton of different non-alcoholic drinks. I think it was having some time under my belt, trying and failing in the past, and knowing I kind of like played it through to the end. Like, am I gonna have 2 drinks tonight and wake up, say goodbye to the progress I've made and wake up with anxiety, or do I just like take a minute, step away, have a non-alcoholic drink? I brought tea up there, like I only had one, but like sit with myself and really realize like why I'm having these feelings. And then the group of girls that I went with is just like so awesome. Like quite a few of them like follow the podcast on Instagram. They listen to the show and they all drink, but there's never any pressure. Nobody's quizzing me on like, do you want to have one? Like nobody is even like offering, which I feel like is with an offer, it makes it so much easier to say yes. So those boundaries are pretty strong without me really even having to put them down. They are just automatically respecting my choices.
Yeah.
And one of my girlfriends up there, she loves all the non-alcoholic drinks too. So like throughout the weekend, she's wanting to try my drink. She's wanting to try all my different sparkling waters, messaging me, asking me like for the link to them. So it's like fun. I'm included. Like it doesn't feel like it has to be this isolating thing.
Yeah, that's so good. And I think overall the fact that you made it to that milestone probably feels pretty good, and hopefully there's like an element of building a little bit of self-trust.
Yeah, it definitely was. And like I know that like the weekend that I just went through was kind of like a safe environment for me. Who's to say if I was like at a different weekend with different people if I would have been as strong in my choices. But I think that comes back to like surrounding yourself with people who are going to support you and not putting yourself in these like quote unquote like high risk situations.
And I think also like taking into account some other things and factors of stuff that might be going on in your life at that time. And that may be one of the differences from this summer to last, where I think we both had like very fresh dramatic work drama or career drama kind of going on, which probably was leaving us already feeling a little uncomfortable and uneasy and anxious, leading us to like craving alcohol a little bit more, or maybe not.
And to
I don't
feel
know.
a little more reckless.
Yeah, exactly. I guess I'm like searching for reasons of why it was different, because we did try to be organized last time. We had like non-alcoholic cocktails and stuff with us, but
yeah, we did.
I don't even think we drank one. Once we opened the bottle of wine.
I'm trying to remember if we actually had like non-alcoholic mocktails or if we just brought some sparkling waters.
No, we had those we did have like those gin and tonic.
Like the clever.
Yeah. I don't think we were as well versed in NA options as we are now. Like, we are at master's level. We are on our way to be getting a PhD in non-alcoholic cocktails at this time.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, nothing really replaces wine, unfortunately. I really think that's like a hard drink to find a really good NA replacement for. I think we found some that are good, but I wouldn't say that for me it's like the same.
No, definitely not. And that's what's hard for me too, is like I do enjoy like having a drink, like a glass of wine or something like that, or like we were celebrating 2 birthdays up there, and we did sort of like a Mexican theme like one day where we made one girl made like a Mexican salad, like a corn salad. We had tacos and they were making margaritas. I love a margarita.
Obviously.
But I didn't have one. And like when the girl brought out the tray, she's like, I didn't make you a non-alcoholic one because it's just lime juice.
Yeah.
Are you okay? And I was like, yeah, 100%. Like, I'm not missing. I'm still included like in the event. Like, do I need a tequila drink to feel like I'm part of that?
Yeah.
And the answer was no.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it's interesting. It's almost like that false illusion of connection that you think. Yeah. Well, good for you. I'm proud of you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I was going to say, do you want to share a little bit about where you're at?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I feel uncomfortable, but might as well don't rip the Band-Aid off. So, I don't actually even know where... I'm going to say it was back in February, though, that... Was it February? No, because I had like 60 days of not drinking consistently. And I took one of my very good friends out for her birthday at one of Canada's actually top restaurants that's out of town, and we did a full tasting menu. And my friend that I was with is not a drinker in any way. Like, she'll have a glass of wine like here or there and doesn't like really think much of it. So whatever I wanted to do, I'm sure like she would have been happy to do. But I had already made a decision at that point that like I didn't want to go to that dining experience without having like some of the wine, because I just felt like it was really very much part of the experience. And so I did have a glass or 2 of wine at that dinner, and that was kind of like the opening of the can of worms of trying to moderate again. And it was a lunch. I said it was a dinner, but actually, sorry, it was like a late lunch. And I was driving, so like, and we were out of town, as I was saying, so I didn't have more than the 2 drinks because I was driving, but also because I was with somebody who doesn't drink a lot. So I do find with this particular friend, who I love dearly, I'm extra aware of my consumption levels around her all the time anyway, because they don't drink. So it's like, it's interesting how much like I can throw things into the wind when other people are, but then when other people are not drinking and I can feel myself becoming more inebriated, it's like, fuck, then I feel like there's like shame and trying to control myself, and then I'm like focused on not having more or whatever. So I did have like 2 drinks. I think I even said at the lunch, I was like confirming I am still a drinker, because like I'm literally chugging the 2 drinks back. And also probably also because, let's just be certain on that, I hadn't had a drink in a long time, and then like I had opened the floodgates too, and then was like white knuckling it. So I was just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna chug these back. I obviously didn't chug them at the restaurant, but it felt like I drank them very quickly. Yeah. I definitely was drinking faster than my friend. I almost said her name. So then from there, I had been dating. So then I went out on a date, and I had already like told this person that I didn't drink and didn't like really get into it. But then when I got out, because I'd already like opened the can of worms on the Friday, then on this Sunday, I was like, well, fuck it. I've already had a couple drinks. Like, let's just have a couple more drinks and we'll just like start again on Monday. So neither of those, like I only had, I think 2 drinks at that dinner or whatever. And ultimately I was fine. Like it was fine. Did I feel like a little bit of like anxiety as a result of the decisions I was making? Yeah. Like I would be lying if I said yeah. But I also was like, ooh, let's not like focus on that because like that's just going to make it worse. Like we're not going to go in a spiral. Because I think it's kind of like a balancing act between not killing yourself for it and going down into the spiral versus being aware of like, is this a like a message that I'm doing something I shouldn't be? Mm-hmm. And so I was just like, nope, blinders on, not going to. Look at it.
I think we had talked about it a little bit on the show as well. And you had mentioned that you had a couple drinks, but you felt in control and you didn't reset the app for that reason.
No, I think I did. But I think
No, you said you didn't.
Oh, I don't fucking remember what I did now. Because it feels like a long time like,
ago.
It was. A long time ago right now. So I'm trying to clearly remember, but I think that I did. At what point did I? I mean, I cannot make any commitments, but I have been drinking since then. Like, let's just confirm that. And obviously, like, there should be no fucking shocker that it starts out very moderated and like just hasn't ended that way. So I think there were a few things though before I start to talk about how things unraveled and where we're at this time. In my mind, there was either a number of things that I was unable to withstand. Like it just like things became like outside of my window of tolerance and I just was like, fuck it, I don't care anymore. I think that's like one thing. Or I used them to like justify my decision, and it's probably a little bit of both. But one was that when the stopping of the drinking, there was just like the eating situation really for me with eating all the sugar like and gaining a bunch of weight. I was just like, clearly I still have a lot of my worth tied up in my body. So as soon as that started to happen, I was like, fuck it, I'd rather be drinking and skinny and be attractive and worthy than fucking fat in my mind. Let's just call a spade
Sure.
because that's the language that's happening inside my mind. So thing number 1. Number 2 is that I was also in a somatic like trauma training course, which probably was just like a lot for me to handle because we were digging up some like very deep shit. For people that don't know, it's like essentially, if you can look up Peter Levine's work, but essentially it's like getting into your body and like where your body's holding like very intense emotion from probably previous traumatic events or experiences. And that probably wasn't ideal to be jumping into some of those things in early sobriety where I was like on kind of like rocky ground because what it was bringing up was like a lot of rage and anger.
It was a really intense period.
It was an intense period and I literally felt like I was going to explode through my skin, and it was going on for like weeks and I was just like, I can't anymore. Like I'm going to fucking unleash this fucking animal inside of me. AKA let's like fucking get hammered.
Yeah.
Like because it is such a intense emotion that it like I couldn't hold that intensity in my system anymore. The other thing I think that came up also was like feeling like really kind of isolated. It feels like obviously after so many years of drinking and living like a very much like a party lifestyle, like a lot of friends, family, like it really feels like a lot of connection is based around like drinking experiences, and in my opinion like those are very like triggering and very debaucherous like relationships a lot of the time, because there is people that drink to, in my opinion, excess the way that I do, and that's not to judge anyone else's behavior because it's all about what's okay for you, but then I bounce off what's okay with those people, and when it's very extreme, then I am in these situations where there's that extremity. But anyway, I felt like all the friends and things like that I would usually connect with closely were also like removed from my life because I wasn't just able to be around them. And it was kind of like winter time-ish here, so it was crappy. And then because I'd opened the drinking thing, I was like, I'm not talking to Keisha as much anymore because I like feel shame and I'm just like in this weird in-between bubble at this time, and I'm not ready to, I guess, address it. So then, obviously, as this failure at moderation goes, there are a couple particular people that, like, I was like, okay, I will just not drink around these two people as moderation goes. Also, these are ridiculous rules. It's like, oh, I can only have 2 drinks. Okay, yeah. But then it's like, okay, well, maybe I can have more than 2 drinks, but not with these 2 particular people. There should be no drinking with these particular people. So then, but then, like, ultimately, I guess one other thing is I really miss going out for dinners. Like, I feel like that's such a part of my identity, and like something that really brings me joy. And I guess I felt like I lost that like dress up, and we'd also lost it during COVID. So I was just like, no, now it's open and I want to go do it. Yeah. Like out to these fun places. So I committed to going out for dinner with one of these people that I had deemed very triggering, not allowed to drink around. And because I'd already opened the whole can of worms with alcohol, I was like, I'm not going to drink. This is unsafe. There was this whole debacle that happened before we went out for dinner. I was like, I don't feel safe drinking. We had this whole conversation. They were like, yeah, I promise it's not going to get out of hand, because when it gets out of hand, drugs gets involved. So that for me was like a hard no. And I was like, okay. So then I was like, fine. Like, I do want to have a glass of wine. So instead of like holding that rule, and this is like the whole thing, it starts to like slip away one little bit at a time with moderation. And so it's like, it starts as I'm having 2 drinks, but then it turns into 3, or it starts as I'm not drinking with this person, and it's like, fine, but under only these conditions. And what starts to happen is that, at least for me, is like it builds up like this false sense of trust that, okay, well, maybe it's safe to drink with them. Maybe I can have one more drink. You know, it's not that bad. You know, then you start to look at their behavior and compare your behavior with it and use that as like a sense of comparison of if you're still okay or not to some degree. Ultimately, what ended up happening though was that dinner was fine, but then the next week there was like it's obviously nice outside. We're like, go to a patio, rosé all day, like. Obviously, then it's like starting to drink at 3. There's absolutely no consideration of how much alcohol I feel like I should be able to have. And then there's a call for drugs. And then because I've had so much alcohol at that time, I'm absolutely 100% not saying no. And don't even like, obviously, but I don't even think I have the awareness. Like, I think there's a thought that pops in my mind that's like, don't do that. You're going to regret it later. But I'm drunk, so I'm like, fucking only thinking about now. Yeah, no, I'm only thinking about now. I'm like, fucking fuck later. Because only this moment is the most important moment.
Yeah, I'll clean up that mess tomorrow.
Yes, 100%. And so, yeah, anyway, that happened. And then, you know, my family came home. And then because I was already, like, drinking, then I'm drinking in that environment. And, you know, I went from, like, being controlled and moderate to just, like, you know, polishing a bottle of rosé, no problem. And then I was drinking much more regularly, and then there was alcohol in my house, so then I'd be having a drink here or there. And this isn't to say like I'm drinking during the day or, you know, I'm drinking more than other people, but like ultimately I know that it doesn't end okay for me. And anyway, this past weekend there was like a pretty large amount of alcohol consumed that ultimately just left me feeling really shitty, because it's just like, you know, the next day I can't really function or do anything. And then the other people that I'm drinking with seem to be fine. And that's what I find always like very frustrating, is that it's like, how is everyone else okay with their choices? And it's like, well, why do I have to stop? Or like, why do I feel this way physically or mentally? And like, why do I feel, I don't know. But so anyway, there's a lot of like layers to things. But anyway, we're back on fucking day 3, unfortunately. And it just like, it is what it is, and nothing really dramatic. Like, you know, only drugs were done like one time during that whole thing, but the one time is enough to confirm that once again, moderation is not possible for me. And I can just tell now, like, with the way that I am, like, around alcohol, just with it being around and open of just, like, it just resets that whole, like, negotiation component that, as I've said, I think in previous episodes, is, like, not in any way freedom.
Yeah.
That was a lot of information. I'm so sorry, guys. I was like, I just purged it out everywhere.
And I feel like that's good. Just, like, get it out. Like, this, like, nobody here is ever judging you.
Are
and
they?
No. And if they are, they can fuck off. Like, turn this off.
Unfollow, motherfucker.
Yeah.
There's a lot of swearing. Sorry.
But yeah, I definitely like did feel you like pull away a little bit like during that time. And I feel like I also was doing that as well, because I don't want our relationship to be me asking you if you're drinking, checking in all the time on you. Like, I don't want to feel like I'm nagging you. And ultimately, everybody needs to go through their own process and make their own decisions. So I didn't want to like project how I was feeling like onto you and ask you, well, are you drinking? Why are you drinking? And feel like you couldn't like trust me to come to me with the information you wanted to. But like, I mean, I get it. Like, we've all been there. I was there last year. Like, sometimes we just need that reminder. And it's like, how many times do you have to fall down to like learn that, like, I don't know, the cliff is high? Like, is that even a saying?
No, I think you just made it up. Yeah. I think, you know, the acceptance piece, there just feels like, for me, there's lots of things that I feel okay around, but there's just like one thing I really like to do, which is go out to dinner at like really fun locations and spots. And it's really, I feel like, difficult for me to do that without the wine component and have it be the same experience. And that feels like a loss of joy. And
but do you think you'll get there? Like 60 days, like as much as like it is a long time, it's also in the grand scheme of the drinking history, it's a small amount of time.
But I've not drank for an entire year, and the whole time, I hated it. It was still, that still was part of it. So I don't have an answer for that.
I get that, and I feel like that too. Like when I went to Gia, like, and the person I'm with is like having like a cocktail, and like
I just wish I wasn't a foodie or like into that experience, because I think it is like another layer of loss.
I understand what you mean, and that feeling. Like, I think that we're very similar. Like, we like to get dressed up, go out for these nice dinners, and have that full experience, and it almost feels incomplete without like lubricating it a little bit with like a cocktail, some wine, pairing it, like a glass of champagne. Like, I understand that too. And I almost feel like when you did start drinking again, like I was almost having feelings of like jealousy.
You said that to me on the phone the other day.
Yeah, that like I was feeling like, well, fuck, like if she's drinking, like can I be drinking? Do I get to have that as well? And yeah, it was really hard for me too, because I'm like, how much did I want to call you and say, let's go to a fucking patio and rip it? Like,
not gonna lie, the patio was fucking glorious.
Yeah, but I think that like also like for me, like that is like a lot of like romanticizing, because I'm only picturing in my mind, of you having a beautiful glass of wine, laughing in the sun, like this like beautiful like picture of it, not the following day and like how you're feeling after.
Yeah, no, exactly. I agree. And just, you know, there's some things that like with that level of drinking, like I just don't even feel like okay about. It's not even, it's like my behavior, like I don't even feel good when I'm drunk like that, when I think of how I behave like the next day. And to be honest, like there were even sometimes, like I went out on King Street, which is like a, you know, obviously the restaurant street in Toronto, and I thought it would be all, you know, X, Y, and Z. And I can confirm that when I got there and I hadn't had a drink and I was sitting at the bar and I looked around, I was like,
nightmare.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to even be here. Like, there, you know what? I'm not really like interested in talking to any of these people. And like, even throughout the night, I feel like I was just like, whatever. But because I had already like started drinking and was like out with people, I just like continued on it when, you know, what I had romanticized, I guess my point is like, what I had romanticized in my mind wasn't even it. The sitting down at fancy dinners, like that for me is difficult, but like missing out on like the party events. And I think actually we walked into like a restaurant that turns into a club, and I just like walked out without telling anybody and got in an Uber and went home at like 1 a.m. Best decision I probably made that day.
Yeah.
And everyone else stayed out, but I was just like, I'm not interested in this in any way. Like, if there's not delicious food involved, like, I'll see you guys later.
I think it's so hard, like, in those moments, obviously, to make those decisions. But now when I look back at, like, my cottage weekend or, like, some of the dinners that I've, like, gone to over the last, like, few weeks and months, I don't regret not drinking. Like, there's not been a time that I haven't drank that I'm like, oh, fuck, well, I wish I had that vodka soda.
Oh, I can confirm, I was thinking that this morning, I can confirm that every single morning that you wake up and you didn't drink, like, you've never regretted that that your choice to not drink.
So when I look back and I'm like, is that just like my impulsivity? I feel like I need that instant gratification, that dopamine hit, something in that moment. But then when I actually am fast forwarding even 12 to 24 hours, I'm past that point where I'm like, okay, I actually am thankful that I stayed in my decision. But it's hard.
Yeah, I think it is hard. And I think one of the things that for me kind of like put the nail in the coffin this weekend was that just being around like impressionable teenagers and being quite drunk and them commenting on our level of just inebriation from like an annoyance part, like nothing dramatic happened and everything's fine, but like, you know, the next day I woke up and I was, you know, obviously knowing all the information and all the things that we've shared here, it's just like, I was like, I am acting like a shit adult at this time. Like, that is not a good role model, like, to be setting for, you know, people who are young. And they're, like, as much as you almost feel like they're, like, little adults in terms of the way that they can communicate and be in the world, I also know what I was like at that age. And, like, you know, you also know that they are looking up at you, or like, you know, looking up to you and looking at your behavior and using that as a guideline of what it's like to be an adult out there in the world. And that just kind of made me feel definitely some shame, because I don't want to behave that way in front of people that are impressionable.
Especially after the last 2 episodes that we have had talking about, even though like by no means am I saying it's an alcoholic home, but just even like that level of like drinking and substance use and that exposure normalized.
Yeah. Like, it's like even that level of drinking, and it's not even that crazy. It's like it's like a couple bottles of wine, which is probably a lot, but still, like, over the course of a day and evening. But it's still like, you know, you're drunk. It's not like you're falling down like village drunk, but you are drunk and you probably are being obnoxious. Which, yeah, in the moment is fun, but like the next day, it's just like, is that necessary? And I don't think it is. Like anyway, I feel like the consequences for me are too high. And yeah, like, as soon as the alcohol is brought back into my life, there are like some relationships that are just not healthy for me that I, you know, are, you know, reintegrated back into my life. And it's really difficult for me to stay accountable to difficult decisions when I'm feeling crappy and hungover. So then all my like daily practices of meditation and breath work and stuff start to fall to the wayside. And
the things that actually make you feel good.
Yeah. And I also just am continuing to avoid making some of the important life choices that I need to make right now in regards to my career and where I want to live and all those things, because I can only really focus on fucking getting through that day without, you know, totally decimating myself because I'm upset about my choices and just managing my level of anxiety from my consumption. So I am also confirming that, like, yeah, when you wake up and you don't drink, you don't have to contend with all of these things. So, you know, every night might not be a night that causes all this anxiety or shame or whatever it is. But I think when you're doing something you know you shouldn't be doing or you don't want to be doing, there is like this underlying level of anxiety that kind of just is then with you constantly. And so the only thing that I was doing to avoid it was like continuing to drink. And again, just like it was last time, it's like the moderation was slowly slipped away a little bit at a time. It wasn't like I had one drink and then the next day I was, you know, out on King Street.
And I think
till 1 in the morning.
That's how it is every time. Like, it's like a slippery slope. Well, we thought it was important just to share where we're at, what we've been going through, what we're learning along the way, in hopes that somebody out there can relate to it.
And I think Gabor Mate always says, like, you know, you can't keep things in the shadows. So, and I think that is like one of the really likely and strong qualities within addiction, is that people are really like sneaky or not honest with their decisions and their behaviors, because there's like this element of shame. So I think, you know, I hope that me sharing that it's not easy and that it is normal. I don't want to say normal because it's not good.
It's a part of the process.
It's a part of the process. And it doesn't mean that you need to fully like shame yourself or stop trying. But I also wanted to just bring some awareness that I had to go through that process kind of on my own and then come back around and be like, okay, no, I'm ready to like be honest about this or talk about it, you know, versus pretending that it's not going on or just like kind of being secretive about it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing with us.
Yeah, and congratulations on your passing your 100-day mark.
Thank you so much. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.
Bye. This is Keisha and Dennise signing off on another episode of Done with Debauchery. Thanks for listening. If you liked what you heard, please share and subscribe. You can also find us on Instagram at Done with Debauchery. See you next time.